takes time, because think about it. What if my boss found out that there was somebody murdered at the jail on television? You think I would have a job? One of my whole functions in the whole world is to make sure that the elected officials like Councilmember Rose and my boss and others don't just find out about crisis information on television or on radio. And so I'm moving in many different directions when we have to do something to make sure that I'm releasing the right information, so we don't have to come back out and say, oh, we were wrong. But very often in a crisis situation, there's so much pressure to go and do something. That's why you'll hear things being like, oh no, we thought that blah 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 was this way and it really isn't. But I always take the posture that it's better to actually communicate with them and say, well, Jack or John, this is what I'm working on. I'll be able to get it to you. I can't give you anything right now, but we're doing this. And so I think it's because I communicate with them. So that has been actually very easy because I communicate with them. And when we have a big policy issue, I actually will go to the stations and meet with the reporters and the news directors, and a lot of people won't do that, but it's probably because of my background as a reporter. And there have been times when I have been sweating bullets where I actually go to sleep at night and I wake up early in the morning and go get the paper and read it because I know I'm quoted, because I done had a blowout with a reporter who's trying to get me to say something that I don't want to say, and I'm trying to be really calm, and they'll put words in your mouth or whatever. So it's not to say it's always been rosy, but I think the difference is because I've been doing it for a while, I understand not to take it personal, and that, you know, don't get into fights with people that have more viewers and more ink than you do. So I just kind of try to keep it cool. So it's good. So I think that we have great, I have great working relationships because I'm honest. Like, as much as I love Richland County and I love my job, I love my family name even more, and I'm not going to get on TV and lie. And I never advise, and I don't have control over the elected officials. But my administrator, I'm not a yes person, and I think that's probably why I've been promoted, because I tell them, even when we do some jacked up stuff, I mean, we have done some crazy stuff, because human beings work for us. What happened once? One time, this guy borrowed our public works equipment and paved his driveway. Now, I told y'all, half-mile road, like almost $500,000. So, and if that wasn't enough, his neighbor saw it, and he hooked his neighbor up. And I told my boss, I'm not going on TV and talking about that. That's all you. I am not going on TV and talking about that. Or just political things. I mean, people make mistakes. And so I've always found that it's easier to say we made a mistake, this is what we're doing to correct it, rather than trying to cover it up. Because then if you cover it up, then you've got a big cover-up. But a lot of things I can't actually even go on and talk about. And I'll give you guys an example. HIPAA. Y'all heard of HIPAA laws? That's where a government or anybody cannot just go on TV and talk about someone's medical condition. Well, we had an instance where a guy went to our jail. He was very, very, very ill. He was very ill. Our detention officers are very awesome people who care about the people that they actually are guarding or whatever. Well, this guy died in our jail. Well, the way the news made it sound like, oh, Richland County is killing people. You know, they made it sound like we were just negligent. But we're one of the only jails in the whole state that's accredited medically. I mean, I'm just saying, you could get better coverage in the jail than you sometimes can out here. We have mental health services because a lot of people have mental health issues. We pass out their medications. They get reviewed coming in the jail, and if they have certain needs, whether they're psychological or whatever, they're taken care of. Well, I can't really answer that. I can't really be like, well, Stuart, he was on death's door when he came in here. I mean, that would look really bad. I can't say that. But the guy really had a history of health issues, and there was a newspaper article, and people just kind of got it wrong. And there was very little I can do other than to basically, you know, say that he was provided the adequate care. And then when the coroner came out with the fact that he died from a pre-existing condition, you know, then that kind of confirmed it. But there's nothing that I could actually say in that case, because me saying that he had a history of low blood pressure and drug abuse and things like that, that would have violated all types of federal laws. fired. I could have been fired for that. So those are the difficult things, is that laws sometimes actually will preclude me from actually being able to tell you the rest of the story. And that is also a reason why your parents and even yourselves, as you get a little older and you're interested in news, is that you go and you seek this stuff out for yourself and not just completely rely on one news source. Well, we have something called the Central Carolina Economic Development Alliance, because we're considered Central Carolina, and we're also, and they actually work with our staff to market the area as a good place to come for business. I don't have the figures, but there's been a significant amount of investment. One of the things that our area is known for is, and I didn't even realize this, is that we're the corporate headquarters for Blue Cross Blue Shield. How many of y'all knew that? Yeah, and that's huge. So that means when bills are processed and things are processed all over the country, that's happening here. Colonial Life, we have the corporate headquarters for Colonial Life Insurance. So we're really known as a health and insurance leader in this area, and so that I think will only continue. Again, I think as you all move on and up in your career, some of you will choose to stay here. Some of you will probably move on and maybe come back. And I think this is really going to be a leading edge community, because people are nice, and we certainly have our problems. Mass transit. If we don't get our mass transit situation together, and I'm sure you guys, your parents experience it probably more than anybody as they're driving into work. If they have to work downtown, I-26 can get a little hectic and everything. So those are the things that preclude. And you know, and then we get these really, I think, bogus reports about how poor the educational system is here. And I think that people don't really understand the rest of the story. We have some of the toughest standards, educational standards in the whole country. And so people don't really talk about that. So I'm very impressed with Richland County school systems. But there are people like the Chamber of Commerce, the Central Carolina Economic Development Alliance, that actually market the community. And we have a lot going on here, by the way, of cultural stuff. You know, and I'm not just talking about Prince and Usher coming and some of the other folks, but I think we have like 6 different dance companies here. We're home to the only national park in the whole state, the Congaree National Park. People come from all over the world to actually see it. We've got the Gamecocks, we've got Benedict, we've got several colleges and universities, and you can have all different kinds of experiences, from an HBCU experience to, so there are just a lot of ways to market the community. And one of the things that was probably a big deal for me was back in 2006. I had to organize us as an all-American community. We competed with communities all across the nation, and I was able to convince the late Dr. Sorensen to go out and represent us. But I had folks from the city, from the county, from the business community, from the cultural and arts community, and people were really impressed with what we have here. I think you take it for granted. I think we take for granted what a great community we are. So I think it's only going to grow and get better.
Casey.